Well, hey everyone, we have with us Quentin Cooper, who for several years, I want to say, ran Candor Briefs. It's unfortunately not looking like you're going to be continuing to do that, but I was curious about what it's like to do all of that and your perspective on the debate community from kind of the outside looking in terms of not being a competitor. So we reached out and we
Right.
set this up. How's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm doing pretty well.
Cool,
Uh,
cool.
I, I I would say from the beginning, because obviously I think all three of us have been involved in the debate subreddit for a while. I feel like I've seen you post stuff there over the years and whatnot.
Yeah.
And as someone who's also sort of in like the equity space, or like making stuff more affordable, more accessible, moving away from private coaching and all that stuff. Um, at the same time, one of the realities that I kind of routinely find myself having to combat on the subreddit is like people kind of do have to make money if they're gonna commit their life to debate as a profession. And
Right.
that's just like, yes, capitalism is bad
Yeah.
and maybe it's gonna collapse someday. But in the interim, like, I mean, whenever I see stuff about camps, people are like, yeah, they're charging like this much. And some camps, just for the record, like are out of their goddamn minds and charging like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like when I see stuff like it's a drill-based camp, I'm like, the fuck does that mean? That you
Yeah.
teach them drills for $80 an hour? But just sort of with that said, like has this been your experience that people are just like, no, there can be no business, there can be no money to be made, even if it is way cheaper, even if it is a reasonable price rather than something that's only accessible to the most elite private school, prep school students? Like, do you just think that
Right.
there's just this stigma that is preventing people who are genuinely trying to help from being able to do so in a justifiable way? Like, people got to eat.
Yeah, I think that so my experience is probably a little bit different. I started I'm sure everyone starts because of the passion at first. But once it became, something that I really found myself growing into and enjoying, of course you want to make it a viable like career. And the only way to do that is to make money from it. But that was never the main goal. Obviously, money became a thing because I had rent and I had bills, etc., as everybody does. Um, but from the beginning, I decided like if a school can, you know, show me, I didn't need proof or anything. Really, if a school reaches out and says we have poor funding, I would give them a free subscription.
Hmm.
And I would do the same kind of thing with coaching. I wanted to, from the beginning, the whole idea was to make unique resources for everybody. I wanted it to be so cheap or free that it would be dumb not to, take advantage of it. But to answer your question, like I think that it is tough because there's this sense of like debate at the end goal is education for everybody involved, and it shouldn't cost what it does. Maybe shouldn't cost anything, and that's definitely like an understandable argument. But with like, as long as there is rent to pay and bills are due, and I don't want to live with my parents, like people that make resources have to get something from it, and that something usually ends up being some money.
Well, let's walk it back a little bit, and because there's a lot I have to say and ask off of what
Yeah.
you just said. But let's start with how you got started with debate.
Yeah. So I started in ninth grade, where I'm from, like there wasn't junior high or anything, which is becoming a thing, which is really cool. But I started in ninth grade. I did public forum. I went, I had even like 2-2 at every tournament. I was so bad that my coach took me off the schedule for my sophomore year. He wasn't going to let me back. My mom was a teacher at the same school. She begged him to let me come back. And then I was like fourth in the state that year,
Sick.
found a passion for it like that year.
Yeah. What do you
Um,
think that was?
I I think I probably had one like success, which was doing research, finding unique arguments, and I just dove into that. and it worked out. I also had a partner switch about halfway through that year. Our first tournament together, I think we won. No, our first tournament together, we did terrible. And then the next tournament together, we won. So, yeah. It gave me some drive to actually put some time and effort into it.
Yeah, well, keep going. So you debated through the rest of high school?
Mm-hmm. All the way up until I graduated. Nothing really, no achievements. We were noticeable and like a notable team on our circuit.
Right.
So I'm from Missouri, and Missouri rules make it tough to be on the national circuit. Won't really go into it. It's BS. It's terrible.
Is it like a really traditionalist model?
Yeah, but like so it's set up by MISHA. Like every state has their MISHA. Like that's the Missouri one though.
Oh.
And their rules are you can only go to like one tournament that's outside of a 50-mile radius of the state.
What?
And so everybody chose NSDA. Yeah.
Wait, why?
There's a few states that are like this, Sasan.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because the way that I guess my understanding is based on the way that like districts allocate funds within those states or whatever, since that is usually it's like a teacher from the school who's doing it.
They don't want you to be taking Ohio money and taking it to Nebraska?
Basically, yeah.
Oh.
I guess that makes sense in a... Can we cuss on here?
Yeah, we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's so fucked. It's awful.
Yeah. All right. Well, so
I just one thing I wanted to. So like you had mentioned that your coach was like potentially gonna bench you, kick you, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Are we talking like a small school program, or like is this like you're on a team of nobodies or whatever, and even then you're getting benched, or was it because it was such a competitive program that you got benched, or that kind of deal?
It wasn't competitive.
All right. Cool. Oh yeah. Just trying.
It became competitive, but no, I mean small school. Probably, the new, like the novice class would probably have 20 or 30 kids, but then those that, stayed after that first year, probably the whole squad that wasn't novice was probably 25 kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy
and that includes
like
those that only did individual stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for a high school, I guess that's small, like when we were we both started in community college, neither of our high schools had debate. And we were on a roster of like 10 kids, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, really similar thing, really small program. When I was competing, like you might hit the same team twice and they'll kind of remember you, but we weren't on anybody's radar. And then I had a little bit of success and I stuck around. Then I started coaching and Paul came on and I kind of was like peer coaching him, and then I stayed on a year after that and was just not competing but just coaching Paul and some of the other people, and eventually built up momentum. And when we talked earlier, you said that was kind of similar to you. Your senior year, you were basically peer coaching?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody that is an upperclassman and has a passion for it and has success with it kind of takes that role just as part of it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the only successful team on your team, and people come to you for advice. And I just fell in love with that. I loved helping, and I loved, like, it definitely gave me some, like a little ego boost to help other people.
Right.
Because debate was like the thing I was good at, and so I found that role as a helping hand, which kind of just turned into like, let me just, take over and coach when I can. And I mean, that's not to say that we had technically 3 coaches. We had our main coach and then 2 assistant coaches. One like did mainly individual event stuff, but that's not to say that they weren't a huge help. Obviously they were for me because I wasn't coaching me when I started.
Right.
But they loved having me do what I did. I loved doing it,
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of took over as a peer coach is a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing I find with debate coaching as opposed to a lot of other activities is like in terms of, you mentioned like kind of the ego boost thing. It's so weird with debate because like you kind of do to a certain extent get to live vicariously through your students.
Yeah.
Because in some instances, it's like they're literally saying the words I told them to say.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there's like an execution thing happening or whatever at a certain level. But obviously the problem with that is for some students that becomes like their like safety blanket. And like when it, and obviously we primarily are parley people, not public forum people, where it's like prepared evidence and whatnot. And in those instances, like there's prep, right? And we spend all year helping our kids prep for their rounds because you're allowed to in college. But then the only tournaments we really care about at our school are state and nationals, both of which do not allow coach prep. And kind of like, Jesus, take the wheel or whatever at that moment. And it's really interesting to see like, do they, when they're without you, still find success? Do they still debate in the way you taught them? Or does like, where does their own personality and style and all that stuff sort of come through or whatever?
Yeah, I would agree. It, you were talking about living vicariously through them. It's never like, I loved coaching and I loved doing what I did, but every time I would do it and I'd start to feel enjoyment out of it, I'd be like, wow, I really peaked in high school. Like, this is kind of, like the definition of peaked in high school. Can't let high school debate go,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that. There's people who are been doing this much longer than you have. Well, and what's interesting about it is I think there's a lot of people who kind of just like hang around the community. Like when discussions are happening and shit, they'll just like be in the discussion suddenly. And you're like, are you coaching right now? Are you competing? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you just here for this conversation? Like, are you doing anything? But I mean, it's rough out there. You just get a job as like we have Paul's former debate partner, Dallas, was just living in DC doing like grown-up work for the government and just like clock in and clock out, so right, so she got involved with helping us out and debate a little bit more, and like now she's like bought back in. But I totally know what you mean, that like it's so unlike the sort of day in day out work that you can get trapped in that it makes sense that people still have a passion for it but don't really have any way of maintaining it as a hobby other than, which I guess transitions me into, how did the whole Candor thing start out?
Yeah, so I after high school gave up on debate. You get burnt out. And I was experiencing pretty serious burnout. I had like senior year state champion, was just finished off my senior year on the highest note I possibly could.
Right.
And then had scholarship offers for different colleges and stuff to debate. Just decided I didn't want to do that.
Which every person we talk to coincidentally decides they don't want to do college debate, which is so much better in my mind. But it just, everybody's so burnt out by then.
For sure. It's tough. And so I decided I wanted to pursue music. Went to college for a semester for like music business, dropped out, and then just worked retail for a couple of years. Like I was a manager at an arcade, literally, like for a couple of years. And so I ended up, through the years, I would still go back to my high school and help out. Before districts, before state, I would do some coaching, I would do some judging for them, to try to help them prepare. And I went one time and asked them for the briefs they had just to get acquainted with the topic so I could know what I was talking about, sort of.
So you said that you really like doing your own unique research. Was using briefs commonplace when you were on the team for other people, or?
Yeah, so obviously briefs are a great resource for a lot of people, but there was a clear difference. You could almost look at like who was successful on a frequent basis and who wasn't.
Yeah.
And those that were successful weren't using briefs. And those that weren't successful were using briefs as their main resource.
So sorry, you were looking at the briefs that...
so I was... Right, looking at the briefs just so I would... I hadn't even read the resolution when I showed up at the school,
Yeah.
So I was just going to flip through, look at some, staple arguments so I could judge them and have sort of an idea of what they were talking about. And I just realized, like, the briefs that they were using, I didn't think they were quality. I didn't think that they had good arguments, and every one of them had the same bad arguments in them, right?
Yeah.
So I went home like that night and compiled just like a little brief and sent it to the coach and sent it to everybody, and everybody loved it. And then the idea kind of popped in my head to keep doing that. So that's how that started.
I remember the year where I got hired to do like prep coach work for the TOC for school. One of the things I did was I was like, hey, do you have a copy of like Victory or Liberty? I don't even know the other. I only know Victory briefs off the top of my head.
Yeah.
No, whatever, because I've never used briefs in my life. It's not a thing in college, like not remotely a thing in college.
Right.
But so I remember I was going through it and I was like, I'm just going to cut answers to like everything in here. And in both of like the top briefs, as my understanding, right, ones that you have to pay for and blah, 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 there were like multiple cards where I was like, this isn't even the right citation. Like this doesn't link to the right website for this. And I'm like, how much are they charging you for this brief? It's like, oh, it's like $50 a month or whatever a month, that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is insane. And it's like, you see these briefs and they're 10 people made them, right? And like, this is a big thing that I would love to hear your take on. Because again, me and Sasan aren't from the high school circuit, right? Like we've both worked in it at this point, but it's not our wheelhouse. And it seems to me that the only marketing that any high school level like company in the debate space does is we have this many TOC bids.
Right.
We have this person's, like, they were this place at the TOC. And, like, I guess to a certain extent that kind of makes sense because, like, well, what else are you supposed to go by, right? But it's never like we have a guy with a PhD in international relations doing it. It's always we have a 17-year-old who did well at a tournament one time as, like, our staff. And, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to know if like was that your perception, and like do you think that model is kind of what's going on out there, or how did you feel about that kind of stuff during your time with the briefs and when you were a competitor yourself?
Right. So one brief that I still love, even if I haven't looked at it in a while, but West Coast, Jim was a huge help to me whenever I first started, like. And I say that I just mean I emailed him whenever when I decided to start doing briefs and was like, hey, I'm doing this, any tips? And he was super nice, super cool. I love that, West Coast was successful because they started in like, I don't know, decades ago, and just built this idea that they are quality, they do it right, they don't have to do the TOC thing. Newer briefs typically do that. They're essentially advertising their staff, and you're just supposed to assume that this staff is gonna cut good cards.
Dude, and with camps, it's way worse.
Yeah.
It's like, they just name it some like flashy shit. Ivy this, or like the Harvard, whatever, that kind of shit. And it's like, oh, we have this. And then you try and ask, like, how many adults are on your staff? Like, how many people who have reach 25 years on Earth as a minimum qualification are a part of your company? Oh, it's 0. Fascinating.
Zero for me too, man.
Yeah, well, and so just one thing I did want to know. There's something you said there that is so profoundly important, and I just need people to understand. All you have to do is email people sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I think this is such a barrier in debate and in life. But people are just like, hey, there's someone out there who's really good at this thing, but they probably are a terrible asshole, and if I try and reach out to them, they're going to send the FBI to my house or what. And it's like the amount of times that me and Sasan have like emailed a professor. Sasan one time was just like, there's a book I kind of want to get, but I don't want to buy it if it's the wrong thing. And he just guessed this. Yeah, Agon and Nietzsche. He just guessed this professor's email. Just said until he found one that was the right one.
And they said, like, dude's a professor at this college, and I was like, first initial, last name at whatever.edu.
Yeah,
and I emailed him, and I was like, hey man,
But
I'm
it's
thinking about reading this book, but this is kind of what I want. Is this in the book? And he was like, yeah, it's kind of in the book, chapter whatever. I was like, great, thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
just stuff like that where it's like, oh my gosh, gang, like you would be shocked. Like, be safe out there or whatever, but like just asking people for help who are really good at stuff. Like a
Yeah.
lot of
I mean,
people are bored and are nice.
yeah, Jim at West Coast, he's like the guy that does West Coast. He's the head. And when I first started, I was like, man, I don't know if I should do this. Like, this could come off as super rude or like super out of pocket. But I just shot him an email. And keep in mind, like, in my email, pretty much said, hey, I'm about to become a direct competitor to you. Any tips? And
Yeah.
he said, hell yeah, here's what I've learned. Here's how I think that this should happen. And I was like, damn, what a cool dude. You know?
Yeah, man. There's people. I don't know why I'm being all laggy and shit. Did I look laggy on
You
yours?
seem fine on my end, dude.
Oh,
You're
okay,
good.
cool. It looks pretty bad on my end, but YouTube seems
Sure.
fine. I'm not stressed about it. Actually, I'm a little stressed about it because my end's the one getting recorded. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no. I think the people who are in this activity and like know what's up, like whose work I really respect, they don't feel any type of way about competition. Like the people who I work for in like the academy scene or whatever, like want there to be as many academies as possible for them to have as
Right.
many students and coaches as possible and in their area, out of their area, because then they just get to do other cool shit
Yeah.
like start a league of just academies. So now you don't have to even worry about whether like the NSDA is going to say you're not allowed to compete at this thing. You can have a tournament just as big, right? So even if it's not a competitive company like with briefs or with even what we're doing, I've seen a couple of people who I know people were making debate related content before we were, but
Right.
the newer people who I've seen doing it, like, more power to them. I always like upvote their
Yeah.
shit, and if I could have helped them out, I would. Like, why wouldn't we want the general scene to improve, right? Wouldn't that help everybody?
Yes. Yeah, I loved when I started seeing more like amateur brief companies popping up. And I would love talking with them and hyping them up, because it's one of those things where like, at least in terms of briefs and in this, we exist in a super niche area
Yeah.
of, marketing and products and that kind of thing. All
Yeah.
the time people would ask me like, oh, you like do your own business. Like, what is it? And I'm like, I can't even
Right.
start
I
to
can barely
figure out how to
explain what I
explain
do.
to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can say
this
teaching.
is so, yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of said that. I said I work in like educational resources is what I would say. But it's such a niche area that like the more people that exist doing these things, everybody has to step their game up, and that's what's so cool about it.
On that note, let's start getting into how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? So, at what point do you start doing research on a topic, right? Because I know the NSDA's process, right, is they're like, okay, here's a list of potential topic areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a couple potential topics it could be, and then finally here is the topic. And
Right.
at what stage do you start the research?
I started research when the day the topic was announced officially.
Right. So, what does that process look like for you? Where are you looking? What do you do? Talk me through the
man.
day the topic announces.
Yeah, so the day the topic announces, I open my template for the brief, and I just start spitballing ideas about arguments without doing any research. I just think about like, okay, initially this could be cool, this could be cool. There might be something on this. And then from there, I start doing just like initial research, simple Google searches, right? And then within like 2 days, I have 64 tabs open in Google Chrome and have to start like finding my way through them. And once I have I like to start with a foundation of things that I think will be pretty basic, staple arguments, the usual stuff. But I really loved, like, my thing always in high school was unique stuff, like almost squirrely stuff. And I loved that kind of thing. So then once I had a good foundation, or what I thought was a good foundation of normal arguments, I would find one that I thought was weird and then dive super far into that as far as I could.
Where do you find the weird stuff?
Like page 6 of Google Scholar, like that kind of thing. Or in, some article that is one of the big articles that everybody's going to be quoting, some footnote or some weird phrase that somebody said that you can tell is something, but you don't know what it is, and you Google that and you're like, oh, that's what that thing is. Let's do research on this. And then you find out just a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah. That sounds really similar to our process.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was in high school, there was a topic about UN peacekeepers. I don't remember what it was exactly, but the argument we ran was about blood diamonds and how somehow this resolution, if passed, would would worsen the market for blood diamonds. And it fit and it worked and it was relevant, but it was so unique that every round, it was kind of unattacked. It didn't get touched on at all.
Well, especially if everybody's basing their arguments, their blocks, their whole strategies around what's already in the other briefs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That PF is also so interesting in this respect because since there are not advocacies, the question of strength of link or whatever when you're preparing for stuff is very different than it is in other formats because the topic is going to link. There's no way for them to get out of it. They can try and weasel or whatever, but it makes links which might otherwise be they're tenuous, but there's some basis for them. They become much more justifiable. And so I've never been a huge proponent of squirrely args or whatever, but in PF it's kind of the format that's most
strategic,
I guess, adapted for them or strategic for them because you're gonna get the link and it's not that hard to find research which supports that statement, right? It's
right.
And especially, and I would also note, and Sasan's talked about this before as one of his big pet peeves, well, when he watches PF rounds, there's sort of this notion of the way that people can read evidence in PF lets them claim that a conclusion was reached by one person because of something 6 other people said, regardless of if they actually said that right. And so it'll be Smith says cats are cool, and John says cats are bad, which is why Stevenson says, and it's but did Stevenson say that? So I guess kind of what I'm getting at is, do you have a litmus test in your mind? Because obviously when you're writing briefs, you're not writing them for you. You're writing them for other people. And so do you have a litmus test or some kind of thing in your head where you're look, this might kind of technically be true or whatever, but it's tenuous enough that I don't feel comfortable telling other people this is the kind of thing they should be reading or whatever. What is your process for making sure, even if it is a really cool and nuanced and novel argument, if it's kind of, I don't know, sus is a weird way to put it because it's so negative, whatever, just kind of what is your approach on that stuff?
Honestly, if I had something that I thought sort of fit, I put it in. And I would put a note in there that was hey, this might be weak. Figure it out if it interests you, see if you can, make it work. But I would definitely think of things that a lot of times I would find a really good impact that I thought would be great for the topic and that fit. But I never could find the card that would link the resolution to the impact. And that kind of stuff is the stuff I would leave out. If I couldn't include in the brief the exact link chain to get to whatever I thought the argument was, I wouldn't put it in.
How do you know when to stop? I guess you're writing a brief and you do your initial research, here's the 5 core arguments, here's maybe 2 squirrely arguments, but my issue with research has always been I do too much. And I always wanted to be over prepared and whatever, right? If there's in college, quite frequently, the entire tournament has disclosed online. Like we just had a tournament recently. We went to a Southern California championship for like community colleges, and I just told my students, I'm like, hey, we have to write. I guess you write something that's not just for you. Whatever, you know. It was mostly community colleges, but technically open to everyone. Whatever, who cares? I'm like, cool. There's 18 LD entries. I'm gonna have the answers to every single app that all of those schools have read. And if they read a new one during the tournament, that shit's getting cut that day too. Whatever. And so there's a clear bright line for me of like when to stop, but there's no disclosure by and large in public forum. And obviously, like, again, you don't know who your kids are debating.
Or
and so
like
where
what
do you
your
be like,
audience
I feel
needs, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Just, I guess just like how do you know when to stop? When do you feel good about a brief you're writing?
For me, if I get to the point that it's like my day to release it and I think it's good, I'll release it. I released briefs later more often than I released them on time because I didn't get to that point a lot, you know. And I wasn't willing to put out something at the price I was putting it out at that I wasn't confident in, that I didn't, you know, think was good. I would much rather release it late the way I wanted it to be. But for me, it was, you know, I would kind of just look at my table of contents, and if it was like that long for one section of arguments, I would be like, okay, maybe a couple more. I'll finish cutting the tabs I have open, and then I'll be good on that. You know, I would do that kind of thing. There wasn't ever really a clear way I did it.
Sure.
Doesn't sound like you're coaching right now, but say
No.
you were,
Mm-hmm.
and you were still doing Candor. Would you let your competitors compete just reading cards you'd cut? Like, do you think that it would make for a sufficient number of arguments, sufficient strategy for a competitor,
Right.
or do you think that there's some level of work that's still required?
If there wasn't the possibility of their opponents having the brief, yeah.
You'd let them
but I
compete
would-
with just the brief?
Yeah. I mean, whenever I would go coach, whether it be privately with other schools or at the high school I went to, I would just use my brief as that was all I took.
Right.
And I would go Maverick and debate against them, you know, as practice rounds and stuff.
Sure.
Whenever I did my podcast with my old partner, we would do Maverick debates and we would just use the brief. And there was full cases in there. There was rebuttal arguments. There were blocks in there that would work for a whole debate on both sides, you know. But it was that idea that, hey, you bought this, your opponent could have too. Like, do your own stuff on top of this.
Right on. So, I guess, like, what do you think of the quality of the briefs out now? Like, what do you think about, like, would you say the same for the other briefs out there, for your competitors, your former competitors, I guess?
I think that is kind of the status quo, that people use briefs as their whole basis of arguments. I don't think that's really a hypothetical. You know, I think that happens. And I don't like it personally. I don't think that even my brief, if you could use it and use only that, I don't think you should. I think that briefs exist as a stepping stone, or should exist as a stepping stone to do your own arguments and do your own research. I mean, that's how I used them. You know, I would look at a brief and I would cut blocks to everything in the brief because I knew my opponents would be using it. And then I would do, for my stuff, I would do my own research entirely. And I think that's how it should be. So this may be a little bit controversial. I don't think it is. It might be. You know, we were talking about like the TOC thing, like briefs advertised based on we have this many TOC bids on our team.
Yeah.
Like, there is such a huge difference between being a phenomenal debater and a phenomenal researcher.
100%. billion%.
You know, like any like all those people that have TOC bids could walk in with the shittiest research possible and win because they're good debaters.
Yeah,
you know,
the
they
way
know how to do arguments.
The way I would demonstrate that to middle school kids I used to teach is I would beat them with their own LD cases. I'd be like, pick your app or your neg, whichever one you think is best. I'll beat you with the one that you think is worse. Like, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Who do you think is putting out the best briefs right now?
That I don't know. So I didn't ever look at other briefs. All I would do if I got my hands on another brief was I would do like what I called a uniqueness check. Like I would look at all the sources I used in Candor and then source check them in the other briefs and see how many of my cards were in other briefs. Yeah. That was all I would do for it.
That's, just such a small thing, but just to derail for a second. Why Candor? Like, why is that the name?
Well, the word candor is about like, honesty.
Sure.
And the initial idea with Candor was something that I saw other briefs doing that I hated was a lot of them were power tagged, and I hated that. So that was like my first thing. I was like, I'm not going to do any power tags, anything remotely power tagged. And that was the whole idea was to be transparent about everything I did. So, yeah.
Sure.
Well, speaking of transparency about everything you did, let's, I guess, talk through Candor again, but now from a business standpoint. Like, okay, you start Candor. Are you an LLC? What, like, how does that work? Like, what's the process? And then how do you decide what to price things at? All the things that the children watching want to know.
Yeah, so I would, in the briefs, I would always put like copyright Candor Debate Co. LLC. Yeah. I never once got an LLC.
I figured not, right?
No. I mean, I don't think I technically ever made enough money to require me to do that, But it looked good. And the same way that I would always like in public refer to Candor as we and us when it was just me, just to add legitimacy to it.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I never had an LLC. Paid my taxes. I reported my income, but just like as personal income.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everyone does.
My dad convinced me to do that.
Well, right on.
So on the business side. Yeah.
Sorry, me and Sasan both know that.
Yeah. the IRS is the worst enemy you can have.
Yeah. No, for sure, dude.
But shit, what did you ask me?
Oh, the process, the business.
What was the process of like? So then you decide on a name, you make a logo, you decide on a price point. What's the process for that?
So, the price point thing was, like I said earlier, I wanted it to be so cheap, and good, that it would be dumb not to buy it.
Yeah. Or
like inquire at least. And so initially, I from the beginning did 2 releases on every topic. First release was mainly like foundational stuff that you would use in your case, and then second release was extensions and blocks usually. And that eventually turned into first release was only case points and some rebuttal stuff, and then second release was only blocks. And the way that I decided on $25 for the first one, $20 for the second one was just like thinking about, what are these worth realistically, and thinking back to when I was in high school, what could I afford, looking back. And I wanted to split them up so that, you never felt like you were paying more than you wanted to for only going to use a little bit of this. And that was the same reason, like every time I released one, I would take a screenshot of the table of contents and post to that so people knew what they were getting. I never wanted anybody to feel scammed in any way by the price or the content or anything like that.
Well, so what was that price?
So if you bought it without a subscription, like just bought it from the website, you want to subscribe, it was $25 for the first one or $20 for the second one.
And what about the subscribe? So how does that work? It's like a year long, or
Yeah.
you pay
So
ahead of time, or
per
is it?
season. Yeah, you pay in bulk at the beginning,
Yeah,
and then I think you save like $15 a month. You were paying like
$10 a
$30
month,
for everything.
but
Yeah.
it was like $100 or something.
Yeah. I think the total subscription was 310 for the whole year. Two topics on
Oh,
or
sure, sure,
two
sure.
releases
There's
on each
two per
topic.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So real quick, $25 for the first brief, $20 for the second brief.
Mhm.
How many hours would you say? Let's talk the first one, right? The first one, how many hours do you think you're putting in per brief? Because I'm willing to bet that you're like, for an individual brief, your dollar to like hour ratio is under $3 an hour worth of
Oh
work.
shit. Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
I was doing this when I started Candor. I was a bartender, and I would bartend from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. And I'd get off work and I'd go home and I'd work on Candor until like 7 a.m. and then go to sleep. So about 5 hours a day, probably.
how many days would it
Just
take
about every day.
for a given brief?
Average probably 2 to 3 weeks. Just because like so much goes into it on the researching side and the cutting side and the formatting side. I was such a stickler on formatting that took up a lot of time.
I'm definitely a stickler for formatting too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, let's say 100 hours.
Okay. Yeah. I can't do
21
that
days
math, but
times
yeah.
5, 105. Let's call it 100.
Okay.
100 hours of work, $25. Okay, how many was your like number of sales kind of consistent from starting out because there's a pretty consistent market, or is it that like, is it, in other words, does the crowd that buy briefs just kind of buy every brief available, or is
Some
it like
do.
okay, but or is it
Yeah.
like, well, people are going to buy 2 or 3 briefs and you want to be the one that they choose. So like,
Right.
did your number of sales increase gradually, or how did that pan out for you?
I think gradually, yes, just as I built a name over the time. But like for example, if you don't have a subscription, nobody buys the first 2 or 3 topics because those are the beginning of the year. No big tournaments happening. Nobody gives a fuck.
Right.
Like why would you pay for this brief on a topic that you don't even have a tournament this month?
Yeah.
But then, from like February to end of season, that's when district starts happening, NCFL, NSDA, TOC, state tournaments. Like that's when things get a little bit better on the financial side.
So on a good brief, how many copies would that sell?
Number wise, I don't even know. It was always tough to track because I had some subscribers, so they wouldn't show up, because
Right.
I would just send it to them because they paid at the beginning of the year. Other people would just ask me for one and I'd give it to them. Some people would buy, first release individually, second release individually, or like a little package of them. But I was making, maybe 1,000 a month.
On those
And
on the like solid months, like near the end of the year,
yeah,
or
yeah. On the solid months, maybe like 1,500.
okay.
But on the really bad months, like 300, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you consistently working while you were doing Candor?
So I started Candor in November of 2018. And then February 2019, I started doing it full time, wasn't doing anything else.
Off of the 1,500 a month?
Yeah.
Because you have Missouri rent. You don't have
Right.
Bay
Right.
Area rent.
I live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for $625.
Oh my lord, dude! I was paying $800 for
I
one
lived in a
room in a
two-bed
two-bedroom apartment in Stockton, California.
Dude,
not even like
I lived in
close
some
to good place.
random suburb 2-bed 1-bath apartment, $1,800 a month. So
Yeah.
when you were
That's
like
out here.
1,500, I was like, "Fuck, dude, how are you making rent?" And then I just pieced together that.
No, and I mean, it was rough a lot of the time. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
it was tough. And I supplemented with private coaching and that kind of stuff. But
Well, so that's something, again, getting back into the like economics of the circuit or the scene or whatever, that I think a lot of people just don't get, because I remember when I was in undergraduate still, Dallas, my debate partner, current coach, good friend, was coaching, and she was coaching some kids out in San Jose. And I assume most people know this, but San Jose, Silicon Valley, this is like the highest or second highest earning locale in the nation, right?
Yeah.
Buku bucks out there. And she was making like, I don't know, $25 an hour coaching these kids privately. And I was like, holy shit, dude, if I could make $25 an hour, I'd be dude, I'll do it for 20, whatever it is, just like this. And now, as someone with a master's degree and who's a professor and who also has private work they do, but I don't coach one-on-ones really. But and this is actually what I'm getting into. I think about this sometimes when I see people reaching out for like privates or whatever with people. And I'm like, I don't want to do privates really. I've never had a lot of interest in that. I like building a team. I love team cultures and that kind of dynamic. Yeah. And I'm like, if someone right now wanted me to coach them one-on-one in debate and it wasn't like something really regular, I'd want like probably close to $100 an hour.
Yeah.
And our boss, Blake, also good friend
Blake.
The
director of the college team.
Yeah, director of forensics. I consider him my boss. He's not, I don't know. He's my superior. I report to him. He's a great guy. Anyway, enough about Blake. Like when Blake, he's a national champion in speech. A 9-time national champion. Legend. Like that's what he charges. Like he's like, I don't want to do it. It's like, if I don't want to do privates or whatever, like, and someone wants private, it's going to be like $115. Something like that, And when you think about those numbers and whatnot, and you hear about these camps or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, but these are high school students, right? To a high school student, $20 an hour is insane. They're even no matter how much money their parents have or whatever, they're like, oh, I'll do anything for $20 an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you look at like a camp or whatever, it's like, okay, wait, hold on, $20 an hour, this many coaches or whatever, $4,000 for a week or two camp or something, and you're like, how does that work out? Do you think that the majority of people in brief work, in camp work, in private coaching work are kind of like on your side where it's like, look, I need to make a living to a certain extent, but like I'm trying to make it available to people. There's like, quote unquote scholarships for people who can't afford to go, or free briefs in your instance or whatever, right? Or do you think that like the debate scene in terms of private is pretty cynical and it really is kind of just money grabs from different organizations and whatnot at a certain level? Because it's so hard for me to gauge. Because to me, I'll just be honest, 90% of it seems like it's a nonsense money grab that is just being orchestrated by whichever scumbag of the week, blah, 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 blah. Right. But I was not a high school debater.
Right. I think that, if you're going to be paying a private coach, upwards of $30 an hour and, whatever case, $20 an hour, like, for one, offer that to your actual coach first, because they're making shit. Give them a chance to give you some one-on-one time. But I mean, it's one of those things where if you're the student and you're comfortable paying that much, and the private coach is comfortable accepting that much, and you guys both feel like you get enough out of the relationship for that to work, then like, it's not my place to say that's too much or not enough or fucked up or that's a money grab. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, do you think No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to kind of re-say that. Like, if everybody's cool with it, then it's cool.
Do you think that there is other people who... I mean, camps are their whole own thing. But let's say just briefs, right? Do you think there's a brief publisher that is like making a much more comfortable living than you were, or do you imagine that everybody's kind of like? Do you think like in terms of like money back on time invested and stuff like that?
For sure. I'd say just about every one of the official briefs. And I make that, I make that difference known because there are a lot of briefs coming out that are just amateur kids at home, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I think they're not making shit like I was.
Right.
But like other than those, I think those big briefs are probably doing a lot better than I was for sure.
So
I had a different way. Like if I had people help me with briefs, because I did have like employees at some points helping me with things, like the way I paid them, I think was very different from how other briefs pay their card cutter monkeys, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that the people on top, just like in capitalism, always the person sitting on top with their name on it is probably doing pretty well.
Well, I think that for a lot of these companies, the brief is really just advertising for their camp.
Yeah.
Like it's in a lot of instances, the top camp is just whatever company writes this brief and blah, 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 like, and so there's that whole thing too. But I remember, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, like, I definitely have a lot of respect for like other briefs and other people that started briefs. And I want to make it known that I don't think that they are doing better than I was unfairly. I think that they started where I did and just, took a different route or took that route longer, Yeah. I don't want to make it seem like I'm like, they stole it from me. If they didn't exist, I'd be sitting on top,
Well, I think the value
I think that they earned it for sure.
Yeah, well, and I think the value of the candid conversation around like how much do coaches make? How much do people who run a kind of like out of the garage brief company or run a camp or whatever make? Isn't necessarily like a witch hunt kind of thing to be like who's. But it's also like, look, if you're interested in this kind of thing, like what kind of return can you reasonably expect?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's I just think that's really interesting and important information that just isn't out there anywhere, right? Like, how would you possibly know?
I definitely agree, and I love talking about it. I just didn't want anybody to think that I was like out these other briefs for exploiting their workers or whatever.
No.
Again, if everybody's cool with it, it's cool with me.
I was gonna say that. And by the way, obviously, we live on Reddit, and so I know for a fact that every year there's about 36 posts about some high school student who feels like they were exploited based on their labor at one of these camps or whatever. So, whatever. But what I was going to say is, like, it's kind of weird from our perspective because me and Sasan are both very fortunate that we do have regular private work in the space. And obviously, I'm also a professor, and so my job is to teach college students speech and debate. But with that said, I mean, me and Sasan, based on how we are and how we've approached Proteus and stuff like that, the other day we had to have a conversation where we were like, hey, YouTube's going to start putting ads on videos even if you don't want them. And our whole thing has been like, no ads, nothing. Yeah. We don't want to make a cent for doing Proteus and like, but and it just bothers me, the idea that like, here's our 3-hour video put out for free, like YouTube's gonna now fucking make money off of it anyway or whatever.
Yeah.
And like it was like just like an annoyance. And then like, other end of the spectrum, like clearer, cynical, money printer goes burr type shit also happening. And I actually don't think in a lot of instances it is the pros who do that stuff. Certainly I'm sure, whoever, I don't know anything about you. I'm good to name companies who I don't know, but I just know they exist. And so Victory Briefs, Liberty Briefs, probably something called Freedom Briefs or whatever. Just a bunch of cool fucking words.
I think one of those
your
was
briefs.
Real.
Yeah, I think one of those. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that like there is something happening level. But I think, frankly, where the most like of this weird cynical exploitation stuff comes from is the amateurs, but not in the sense that you're talking about. But like every year, dude, there's how many posts are there on the subreddit of people who are like, here's our new camp?
Dude, I mean,
Right.
forget even the subreddit. Like, at least you have to know enough about debate to know that there is a subreddit.
That's true.
Um, private education resources is a massive industry. Like, I think the SAT prep industry alone has been valued at like $1 billion. And debate is, as long as it's helping people get into college, a valuable college prep thing, right?
Right.
So, rich parents are gonna spend money on it. And the thing is that it's not like fucking, I don't know, gymnastics, where you get to see your kid do a backflip and then, like, you're like, oh, they learned gymnastics. Most of them don't even want to send their kids to competitions, is the insane thing, right? So, at least in the Bay Area, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of parents who spend, $1,000 per semester sending their kids to debate classes at various places and never send them to a competition. They just want them to have that experience and the thing on their application that says, I did debate, right?
Yeah.
And it's just natural that people who are in the sort of education industry enter into debate to get that money. I mean, I don't think it's so much like, I think when Paul is talking about amateurs, right, it's not so much amateur debaters or high school debaters or whatever who want to do like monetize it in some way or start their own like little independent academy or camp or brief. I think it's just like people that just see the money going around and want some and are doing some really poorly put together thing. My first job ever, the first time I got paid for debate, I found this company that was willing to hire me, pay me $50 a class I taught, to like teach debate at like middle schools and elementary schools. And it wasn't like an academy. It was like they just did after school classes. And when I went there for like the first meeting or whatever, like all the employees had to show up. We sat around a round table and they tried to pitch us all on teaching classes outside of what we had like signed up and been hired for. And I was like dead broke and really bad with money. And they're like, we want you to teach this financial literacy class for adults based on this workbook. So we already have the workbook. You just need to show up and just read and assign the work in the workbook. And that was so fucking crazy to me. That, like, how much are these people paying for this class just to have someone show up and pretend they know what's in the notebook and just hand you the notebook and follow the thing, right? And it was super, super unethical. And I don't know, I stopped working there, but, like, shit like that it exists in debate. It's...
Mm-hmm.
I
think... Go ahead.
Well, Paul, I guess if you want to... My question would have been, like, what do you see as the defining characteristics so that people can know what to pick? But, Paul, if you had a different take on it...
Oh, no. The only thing I want to say is, like, because, I mean, I'm pretty cynical about a lot of capitalist stuff in general. But especially so in debate, because I'm all about access and that stuff. But what I was going to say is that the problem at the same time, though, is, like, it is... inarguable that debate is skilled work. Like, to really be qualified to just know about debate, not even to be a coach. You don't know how to, because that's a whole different thing. Knowing how to coach, and like you said earlier, and being a good debater is the same thing as research versus being a good debater, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not necessarily the same. But to get to be the state champion, or to be top 4 at the nation, or whatever, you qual to TOC every year, that kind of stuff, is like thousands of hours, presumably, of your life. Maybe you've spent even more time refining how you will coach, getting, whether it's a degree or just you've just spent more time doing it, whatever. And research is like knowledge work. Because like a lot of debate is just like, can you, when someone asks you a question off the dome, without having to direct them to a book or Google or whatever, tell them the answer to their question? And that only comes from seeing 1,000 rounds or whatever.
Right.
And so it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if we were doing this in a different industry, like that's worth a ton of money too. My fear is just when it comes into a lot of the laborers in that respect are minors, right?
Yes.
Most of these kids who are coaching are 17, 18, seniors who were just good their junior year or whatever.
Right.
And that scares me a bit. But yeah, like what Sasan was alluding to, what is your advice for people in that regard in terms of like making sure that I don't know if you want to say like supporting a company or whatever, or like just choosing your resources, whether that's coaching, whether that's briefs or whatever. What would your approach be as someone who's somewhat of an industry insider like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for one, there just needs to be a lot more transparency from the companies about how they do things, and like you were talking about, that's just my view on like capitalism in general. Pretty cynical about just how businesses and anything relating to money is run ever. Like I have pretty extremist radical views on that.
Sure.
That include, being transparent. But let's say, that doesn't happen. And these brief companies and these camp companies, these resource companies in general, don't start talking about it and being open about it. Just like, I don't know, chances are you can find somebody that has worked at one of these places, or know somebody that has worked at one of these places. And, that's on one end of like, should I support this company in the sense of like, are they fair? Or am I like buying Nike shoes and supporting sweatshops? Yeah. On the other end, like, should I, go with this company? Are they legitimate? Do they exist in the debate space because they have a passion for it, or is it a money grab? I think answering that question is a lot easier just by looking at what they're doing and what the content is and the quality of it.
So
I think you can
How do you determine that? So let's say
what signals quality
right?
for you?
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's debate research and normal research are so different. There is a very clear difference to me, just because, if you ask an English major to do research and write an argumentative essay on this topic, and then ask a senior debater to do the same thing, like they're going to be made differently and they're going to read differently. And they're going to have different things about them where you'll be able to tell, okay, a debater did this. And I think the same goes for briefs and resources for them. Like, this is the kind of thing that you can only make for a debater if you did it before.
I think that in that same respect, one of the problems with the identification thing is like, you're a person who reaches a relatively high level of debate skill, ignoring research, just actually won debate tournaments or whatever, right? And then you are also someone who is a professional researcher, effectively, right? Like, bottom line, that is what you did for a living to pay the rent. The kind of person, in my experience, who is primarily buying briefs are not top tier debaters. I am sure top tier debaters check them out sometimes just to know what people's reading, just to get a lay of the land and to know what they have to look for. But the person who's buying a brief is, quite frankly, someone who either A, isn't that good at research or just is lazy and doesn't want to do the research, or just newer debaters, middling debaters who want that extra edge. They think that they can buy the better timer or stand and that'll make a difference, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And for those people, it's, I guess it's like almost begs the question of like, how can someone who doesn't know what good research takes or looks like tell between brief A and brief B?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it makes it so difficult unless they're doing something like what you're saying, which is like, hey, transparency. Here's the table of contents. Here's what you can expect. Here's the price, and here's it in relation to the competitors. Like, this is it. Yeah. That's the deal. Yeah. No smoke and mirrors, no tricks, no 80 bids or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I think if you aren't experienced enough or don't have the level of knowledge to be able to tell that kind of thing on your own, like the thing that I would always think about when doing research when I was in high school competing and I was writing cases and that kind of thing, like, this can sound really good to me as a debater in my debater brain, but I am debating for a parent judge or like somebody who has no idea what the fuck like a link is, you know? So if I read this tagline and I read this evidence, does this make sense? Will this work? Like, that's the kind of questions I would be asking, because you don't have to be a crazy good debater to know, does this tagline match? And does this highlighted part say something that I think I can use, you know? Because no debate evidence is objectively good or bad. It is only like you give the same brief to 5 debaters and they're all going to use different parts of it, you know, because they're going to use what works for them and what part they like about it, what argument they want to go with. I don't think you can ever truly look at it like, unless of course it wasn't made by a debater. But if you look at a brief made by a debater, like, it's going to hit different for everyone because everyone has super different styles. So really just look through it, read it, and if it makes sense to you and it feels good to you and sounds good, and because like that's all you can do, you know? I mean, I would sometimes, whenever I was in high school, I would, you know, go into my dad's room and be like, hey dad, so if I told you that the Belt and Road Initiative was employing, you know, private military contractors, and private military contractors do this and this, and it's really bad and it's going to lead to this, would you believe that? And he'd be like, yeah, I mean, that seems like it makes sense. I'd be like, okay, sick. And then like run away, you know?
Right.
Like you can do that kind of thing to gauge the quality, but it's such a battle trying to find good resources that you kind of just have to explore.
It's crazy how few debaters have parents, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I've realized over the years. They're always shocked. They're like, God, these parents, they're dumbasses. They don't get it. I don't know. It's like I'm speaking Russian. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, in parents' defense, debate is jargony.
Oh, yeah.
And jargony is fun.
People don't adapt. I mean, there's very little interest in that. But sorry, go ahead, Sasan.
This is kind of a fucked up question to ask, admittedly. How do you feel about all the piracy of all the briefs? Because I've never bought a brief, and I've read like 8. They're just around.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on why you're getting it. I hated seeing, you know, people reselling briefs like on Debate Trade.
Yeah.
Even if, like, I would always comment, even if it wasn't my own brief. If it was somebody else, like, okay, sorry, I think trading is okay. And that may be controversial, but I think, like, at least you're bartering, you know, this company wasn't going to get money from you anyway.
Right.
And it's all about spreading resources and education. But if you are reselling briefs, you can fuck off as hard as possible.
Yeah.
Because, like, you are taking money out of the pockets of people who aren't making enough anyway, like just trying to get by doing this thing that nobody cares about except for the 9 people online on the subreddit. You know what I mean? Like, if you're reselling briefs, fuck off. That's how I feel about it. I think the piracy, like, for trading, whatever. I wish it didn't exist, as somebody who, in a way, loses out on some kind of compensation when trades happen. Like, it sucks, but I'm cool with it because, you know, if a lot of the times the people on Debate Trade, like, they don't have money to buy briefs on their own. Yeah. And their coach is the one that makes the decision on which briefs get bought. Right. And so, like, I can't be mad at the competitor for being like, listen, I have this brief. I really want Candor. Can somebody trade me? You know, can't blame him. I did it in high school. Sure. On my old Reddit account, you can go through it and see all my debate trades.
Every time we make, like, a video on research, I'm like, yeah, here's, like, the fucking Sci-Hub link, right? Like,
yes, Sci-Hub. That is on my bookmark, like, bar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you cut cards? Like, yeah, you have to, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, here's... Okay. Before I get into the question I was about to ask, let's stick on this.
Yeah.
Let's say someone's watching this video and they're like, all right, whatever, I should start doing more research on my own. So you insinuated a couple stuff, right? You talked through your process a little bit. You mentioned Google Scholar. What are some... I mean, if you're not going to keep doing this, like, what's your secret sauce? What are you using?
Um, I have a research folder.
Yeah.
Openaccessbutton.org. Ecosia, ECOSIA.org. It's like Google, but it doesn't take cookies into account. A lot of times when you use Google, it will remember your old searches and try to give you stuff it thinks is relevant, which will like be skewed. So I like that sometimes. Google Scholar, Google News is really good. Obviously everybody knows Google News, but like if a tournament is coming up this weekend, and it's like the tournament starts on Friday, it's Thursday night, I'm going to go on Google News and I'm going to search something related to the debate topic.
100%.
Do by time and just see, did anything fucking crazy happen today that I need to know about tomorrow?
The amount of times, just to go in there. I saw this advice in I think 2012 or 2013 YouTube video from a guy that was just talking about how to be a good MG, which is like what would that translate to? The second affirmative speaker in public forum, whatever, the rebuttalist, I guess is what they call it. Which is
the second speaker, yeah.
Anyway, that kind of shit. But anyway, they're just like, like if you're not updating your shit the Thursday night before a tournament, like what are you doing? It takes like 30 minutes, and then like inarguably, you're gonna have one thing. There's this Russia scenario no one knows anything about that like changes the game, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Your uniqueness. I think this is also a reason why disclosure matters and stuff like that, and like inherency, debate, whatever. I don't know, that's on the public forum. Bottom line, people should be updating their fucking uniqueness, and it drives me crazy when it's like, this card said that in 2018 there was a doctor shortage. You're saying in 2020 there was a doctor shortage.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do anything in the last 2 years? Like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, just
no, that's okay. I definitely get like the
just real quick. That's especially atrocious when people talk about econ arguments.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how are you using a 2018 econ card in
it literally changes on a daily basis.
Yes.
Like what? You didn't think,
the easiest uniqueness to find. The easiest uniqueness to find.
But, all right. Ecosia, what else?
I also have, like, every school has their own, like, Gale or EBSCO or whatever.
EBSCO,
yeah. So definitely get those. Like, once you graduate, you won't be able to use them, but use them while you can. And then I have Sci-Hub. And one thing that I did a lot that I don't think a lot of people realize is, like, Google Scholar is really great, but a lot of times you click on a Google Scholar link and it'll open to, like, an abstract with a login or, like, pay to look at this.
Yeah.
If you are on Google Scholar, there will be a little, like, number in brackets next to it, and you can click on that, and one of those will be a PDF. And you can open that PDF without paying for it. It's just like this, whoever puts this article out, the first one that Google's going to show is the one that you have to pay for.
Right.
Yeah.
But like it also takes into account like, oh, this is also posted on this different website for free. You just got to find it. So that's definitely one of the things I did a lot. I drink so much water. I'm about to piss myself. Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Sick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sass, on that note, I feel like in terms of research specifically and like approaching research for debate, something that kids don't get, and this I literally tell my college students this, my middle school students this, whatever. When you're first constructing an argument, people feel like you have to find like this perfect thing. Like you need the perfect uniqueness for it, the perfect link for it, the best source or whatever. Yeah. But I thought the metaphor, I don't even know if that's the right term for it. I tell people like your job in debate is
until you find something better.
Yeah, it's go to imright.com.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're looking for as your initial starting point. Because here's the thing. If some shitty person said it, that's fine. If it's shit and the other person says it's shit, you're going to lose. And that's going to force you to update it. But if the other person can't be bothered to do the 3 seconds to look at, I don't think that whoever, Michael Scott's blog is
that's
the
the
best
lesson
thing.
You learn in partly. Because you don't have time. You don't have time to wonder what if my opponent answers it. What if they don't? You got 40 seconds left to come up with something. You don't have time to wonder what if they answer it.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Hello.
Do you want to, Sasan? Do you want? I don't know if you have the serial questions pulled up or if
I
you
got
want
a question I want to ask before.
Sure. Got it.
We get into all that, but I'm blanking on it right now. Have we not talked about something you want to talk about before I remember the question?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I have I probably should have thought about things I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
but
it's all good.
I was just gonna let you guys ask me whatever you wanted.
Yeah. Oh man, I had one question I even mentioned, and I was like, all right, before I get into what I really want to ask.
Yeah.
I'll remember it in a second. Paul asked a question.
Not one of the serial questions, to be clear.
Go ahead. That's fine. No, about whatever.
Cool. We'll start with that because we want to make sure that we do it. And obviously, we're like an hour and a half in. So I don't know if you saw the Jack one or whatever. What's up?
We're an hour.
Yeah, dude, it's 6:30.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I started feeling bad. I was like, yeah, dude. Anyway, me and Sasan, just for the record, I mean, some people know this from the old heads, the real ones know. Me and Sasan, when we used to do Proteus, it would be like, I'm coming over to his house, and we're going to do 6 hours of us just talking, but we will arbitrarily decide that only these 2 hours are going to be this one, and these 2 hours are going to be this one. And so this is nothing new to us. But anyway, serial questions. We have a bunch of questions that we're planning on asking basically everyone we ever interview, just to see comparisons of answers and whatnot. Some of them might not apply as well because we're talking about a lot of brief stuff, but you were a debater.
Right.
And so the first one, which I love, it's a Sasan thing, is what is everyone else in forensics wrong about?
Ooh. Okay. Damn.
Take your time.
Yeah, totally take your time. Yeah, I mean, Sasan's got to think anyway to try and remember that question he wants to ask.
I've had some hot takes through the years. I gotta think. Let me think on it for a second. What were you about to say?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I think, just for the record, like as an example, we just did this with Jack Johnson, which was really sick. The other day.
If you say that, then he'll be like, "Oh, let me talk about that." No, let him.
Oh no. Yeah, okay, fine. You know what? I'm not gonna say anything.
I want to hear the hot take. That's the thing. I want
to hear the hot take too. It's gonna come though. He's got time.
Yeah.
Can we circle back? Are there more of these?
There are more. Totally.
Okay.
Great. No problem.
Because I really got to think on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to make an impact here.
If you had to speed run your career to try and get to the level that you reached at the end, whether that's as a researcher or as a competitor, what would you have changed? Like, what strategies would you have employed? Would you have still done the same stuff you did previously? Or like,
how could you get
do you feel like you now know a
efficiently?
ton of stuff you just missed?
Yeah, so I wouldn't have been shit my first year and a half whenever I got into debate. I wouldn't have given up before nationals my senior year. I wouldn't have taken 3 years off before starting Candor. And then within briefs, I wouldn't have tried to expand a policy in LD too quickly and then fail super hard only to just go back to just public forum. Those are some big ones that I've definitely throughout the years really.
Can we touch on the senior year nationals one?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can't. Yeah.
What? Sorry.
What's the
story? Like, why'd you end up giving up or whatever before?
In Missouri, districts, there's like a districts tournament to qualify to state, and then there's a different districts tournament to qualify to nationals. So me and my partner got first at both of those, and then in April is the state tournament, and then nationals isn't until June. So come April, I got second in radio speaking, and then we were state champions in public forum. And then there was a month and a half until nationals. And I already knew I was going to school at, this local college. I wasn't taking any debate scholarships. And I was partying my ass off, prepping for college, So I was literally doing my research, making cases on the road trip to nationals. We won state and we were like, we're not going to win nationals. So why even try? And then we went
relatable.
4-4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a great time, but yeah.
real quick question, because obviously I have no idea in Missouri where you're from. There's like 3 pretty big debate schools, either in Missouri or like right along kind of, border or whatever of Missouri, especially in southern Missouri or whatever. Are you aware of like William Jewell, or is that anywhere near you? Or because they had a pretty good debate program.
A couple of the people that I debated with go to William Jewell or went to.
Oh, sure, yeah. I was just wondering, like, when you talk about like
there?
debate schools.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are they debating for William Jewell?
So if I stayed in college, I would have graduated this past year.
Oh,
so
okay.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
But
sure.
some of them did. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. I almost want to know. Did you? I mean, I'm just wondering if these are people I know or not. Because anyway, ignoring that.
Yeah.
But like in terms of around you, like there's these debate schools. Maybe you had scholarship opportunities. Maybe you just wanted to go to compete or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What would like? Again, this is the big issue me and Sasan confront a lot. High school debaters don't debate in college. They just don't.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, right? Maybe they're burnt out. Maybe there's things they hate about high school debate that they don't realize are different in college debate.
Right.
But what was the final decision maker for you? Where you're just like, nah, no high school, no college debate, rather.
I mean, initially all these scholarship offers were coming in, and I made the decision that like I didn't want to debate with anybody but my high school partner. So if we were going to do that, we were going to go to the same school, and it was going to be like a package deal. And nobody wanted to do that, even though we were like, seriously? Like, come on. Like, we're a team, bring us together and it'll be successful. But nobody wanted to do that. And then I started getting more and more into music, and smoking a lot more weed around that time. And then at a certain point, like, a scholarship offer did come in for my partner and I to come together. But at that point, I had already decided, like, I'm just over it. Yeah. I had essentially debate season wasn't over, but I had made the decision already. And so I don't think anything could have changed my mind about it.
I remember that question that I was going to ask, and it was relevant before. And
sick.
Whatever. Well, it'll still fit. So, just to give some context to this, you're, as far as we know, for at least the foreseeable future, you're not going to be working in the, for lack of a better term, the debate industry.
Right.
At least not. Are you still going to be doing coaching, or are you just stopping the briefs, or do you know?
I would be open to coaching. I haven't been doing any coaching this year.
Okay, so
I would be open to it.
For the sake of the question, right? You're stepping away from debate.
Right.
We talked a lot about like the channel and our jobs and how we feel about the money and whatever. And one of the things is that Paul has a master's degree. I don't, right? Paul has we both work at the same college, but I'm getting paid out of like team funds. He's getting paid as a teacher, and
he's on payroll.
He's on payroll, right? And if he decides, forensics isn't for me, I'm burnt out, he's still a comm professor at a college.
Right.
But the position that you're in, that I'm in, is like, let's say I lose my job, right, that I have right now. My options are to work at another debate industry place that will hire me, or go back to fucking retail, right? Like, I was working at a FedEx office. My last retail job was a FedEx office, and I don't know how I'm any, which is weird, right? So I was making $11 an hour. Mm-hmm. And I grinded in debate for a while, making no money, and then I got a $35 an hour job, and now I'm on a salary job, and I can make a living off of that, and it's sick, and I'm incredibly fortunate. But my work was hey, we're not doing subs this semester, and I can't say that's fucked up, because if I don't have that job, it's back to FedEx. right? Like,
Yeah.
it's weird to have this, like, skill set and to, like, keep climbing up, but there's no, like, safety net, there's no, like, checkpoint, right? There's no progress marker. What's that like for you right now in your experience? So it was your sole or your primary source of full-time income, and now you're switching out of it. Is there anything from your experience doing Candor that you're able to turn into, you know, an asset moving forward outside of it? We talk so much about portable skills and learning debate, but in terms of, like, doing the work as a career, is there any boost you can get?
Yeah, so I started a job back in August. When COVID hit and sales tanked because tournaments weren't happening and nobody cared, I was like, okay, I definitely need to have a backup. So I've had a full-time job since August. I knew since then that this was going to be the last year for Candor, whether I stopped halfway through the year like I ended up doing just on a whim, after thinking about it for like 15 minutes laying in bed at midnight, you know, or I was going to make it through the whole year and that was going to be it. But I've known for a little while that this was going to be it, at least for now, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was able to get a job at this music store that I've loved since I was like 11, that I've always wanted a job at. They had an opening. So I'm working full-time, making good money, because it's sales, and it's sales about music gear that I know and I love. And like debate obviously helps with sales, the confidence and the
second place in radio broadcast, okay? You know, that voice helps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, like, I definitely put on a voice for sure. Not actually. I don't know. Maybe I do. But yeah, so I've been lucky enough that I didn't decide to quit what I was doing. And then while I was dealing with all of that, also trying to find something else to do, like at this point, Candor as a whole, the debate stuff became secondary, just extra income. So I was lucky enough to be able to make a decision for like my mental health and just say fuck it.
What are your thoughts on if this is an industry and it is something that, you know, is supposed to be like all these academies and camps and stuff, right? Well, they're mostly hiring college kids and fresh out of high school kids,
right?
But if we are gonna try to build a industry, for lack of a better word, nothing better and less, like, I don't know, gross factory implication is coming to mind. But if we're trying to build something out of this as a community, like, it seems kind of fucked up that at any moment you could lose all progress you've made in however many years you put in.
For sure. I agree.
On a lighter note, there was the last question you were answering. There was a moment I was like, that's somebody's voice. Like, I know that voice, and it's on certain words and certain phrases. Wait, did you say it, Paul?
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, yeah. Exactly.
Dude, he sounds exactly like Kevin Smith on certain words.
I've gotten that before.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
I was like,
I've been thinking this whole time, I'm like, this kid does a great voice. I can totally see how he wins radio.
Does a great Kevin Smith. All right, let's get back to these questions then. But yeah, no, I mean, what I'm saying is I feel for you, and I think about that all the time. I'm glad you have something solid, and I'm sure music sales
it worked out for me. It worked out a lot better than it could have, for sure.
Yeah.
We got two for you. One we already told you. What is everyone else in forensics wrong about?
Okay.
And then the other one, if you still need some time, is who helped you in your success but doesn't know it? Who was like critical to you being successful, but you don't?
I just got goosebumps. Man. Fuck, guys.
Dude, the job I really want is
Question
James
asker.
Lipton on Inside the Actors Studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the three questions, right?
This is crazy.
Dude, I loved it. I loved it because I went in the comments of the last one we did, and some kid was just making fun of Jack, and he was just like, Proteus Debate asked a question. Jack, wow, that's a great question. And I'm like, look, kid, if you were on here, you couldn't handle it. Sasan made a living out of cross-examination. Just hanging out with this dude for years, you're just sitting there and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, the caustic record you tapped into when, like, they were like, ask the shit.
Well, and before you get into your answer, when we were talking about, like, my solution to this whole fucking skills that you can use or whatever is, like, yeah, the channel is free, but we're trying to use it as much to just, like, develop whatever it is. Like Paul needed a resume to show that he could teach online and shit if he was arguing for a full-time position. Great, we're gonna do the whole online thing, right? And like,
which was really funny because the irony being that like my entire life now is teaching online, but like back
now
then,
everyone like,
how do we fake like I know how to teach online? Like, how are we gonna fake this in like 2 years? It turns out not.
It was gonna be like a super unique skill that he had,
and you're like,
or like now I'm like teaching myself like video editing and shit, right? Just like using this to like fulfill other stuff, and yeah, this gets me one step closer to James Lipton on Inside the Actors Studio. I don't know what you would call that job, but
I strangely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Not to cut you off.
No, I was just about to say I don't know what that title would be. Interviewer.
Yeah, I mean just interviewer really is
host.
I'd love to be a game show host. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's ever asked us this. You know, we do like AMAs every once in a while, but I've been trying to think about the answer to like, what do you enjoy most about doing the Proteus thing? You know, kind of similar to like, you know, a lot of the stuff we've been asking you and how you ended up with it. And like, obviously part of it's like, well, I get to work with one of my best friends who like, it's like surreal. It's really like kind of like some Good Will Hunting type shit where I'm like, like we both didn't have shit. Like when I met you, I was a community college student from a really kind of, you know, shitty situation or whatever in my life and a lot of things. And you know, were just a community college student as well. And now we both have like careers in this thing and we both coach community college together. And we have an academy where we, you know, do stuff and help equity, whatever.
We have a YouTube channel with the word academy in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it.
There's a website. There's a website
people keep trying to sign up.
What?
People keep trying to sign up for the website.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
you made a fake website because
I made a fake website when I was an undergrad because I had to for like an assignment. And people once every couple of months, I get a thing where it's like someone tried to sign up, and I'm like, for what? And I look at it, and it's like $1,000 package we faked that we had for like, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? People
email me.
It says on the website that it's fake. Like it's so clear. People ask for jobs on it and shit. Like, I mean, but the thing is,
people are asking for jobs. I'll give people jobs.
Well, yeah, we gotta work on
pay them.
But
you guys want to give me a job?
Yeah,
you guys have
there's a website
open?
that like tracks YouTube channels like performances. I don't even know what it's called. I've checked it out twice, but it'll estimate how much a YouTube channel makes. So if you want to know how much like fucking I don't know Logan Paul makes, it'll like estimate that, right? So I looked up our channel and it estimates that we make $13 a month. We don't make anything, right? But this is we've been valued at $13 a month. So I can pay you $13 a month, I think. Just about.
That's about what I made, yeah.
I mean, rent is what, like $8? So.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things
so like 9, but.
Oh yeah.
I've seen him in the back. He looks like he's having a good
time.
time.
Well, we did ask a question before we went on like 15 tangents.
Yeah, whatever. Go ahead and answer any of the questions we've given you. I'm moving on.
Who helped you but isn't aware of it?
I feel like I've made it super clear to everybody who has helped me that they helped me. Honestly,
I would have trouble answering that question unless it was about someone who I like didn't like or whatever.
Who helped you that you have no way of communicating with?
What the fuck, man? Okay, well, the one thing that the rest of Forensics is wrong about.
Nice.
Quotes should not be at the beginning of your case. Like, quotes from famous people. That's I hate that always, and everybody else loves it. I fucking hate that.
Yeah, your case
Right.
should have arguments in it, for the record, not
Right.
just things people said that aren't arguments.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I remembered that one. I found an answer for that one.
Good.
Man. I mean, obviously we're talking about like this area of my life. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I maybe I don't think my dad knows how helpful he was like with it. He definitely like supported me a lot and believed in me when I started doing it. Which, you know, if I was in his shoes would be hard to do. It would be hard to look at my son who like lived alone and, you know, had bills to pay and be like, yeah, do that thing that's super niche and you have no idea if it's going to work. And like, let me know if I can help, you know, like it would be hard for me to do that. And he did.
It's fucking
So-
nuts, dude.
Damn, I need to call my dad, bro.
Yeah, dude, all those lay cases he helped you with too. Like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
for real.
Yeah. man.
Yeah.
No, that's sick. And I mean, you know when you don't have that, you know? Like, you
Right,
know when you're,
right.
like, trying to do some shit and you're just, like, hearing the echoes of everybody who's, like, concerned on your behalf and doesn't want it. So just to
Right.
have someone be like, yeah, fuck it, go for it. That's huge.
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep, for real.
Paul, do we have another? Was that all of them?
That is all the ones. Yes. Let me see. Yeah, the only other one we had a fourth one, but we didn't even ask it last time. So fuck it, it's gone now.
Cool.
Otherwise,
is
it
it,
wouldn't be a
though? I wanna
serial
know.
question. It would just be. It was, what is the most
can
important
start.
speech in your event?
I actually have a good answer for this.
Yeah, what do
All
you
right,
got?
well, feel free. It starts with you.
So in public forum, I think the summary speech, the first speaker's second speech,
Yeah.
is the most important, for sure.
Do you
Well-
think that that's like a strategic thing? Like, do you think like that? Or sorry, I guess what I would say is, do you think that that depends if you go first or second as well? Like, is the second summary more powerful than the first summary, etc.?
No, I think the summary speech, just in general, I think it's the hardest speech because you're taking 4 minutes of attacks and responding to them in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Depending on where you debate, and you have to respond to all of them. And like that speech is the last speech that you can bring up new evidence and new arguments in. That speech is the only time you get to defend your case. That speech is the last time that you get to like talk about the arguments before you get to the final focus or whatever, which is just an overview.
Right.
Like it's pretty much your last word. It's your last word. You don't have enough time like to effectively communicate everything. And it's your like last chance to bring up anything else that you need to. And you have to fit all of that into a little bit of time. I think it's the most important.
Hey, Paul. Q was asking me about like a file you were working on that you may or may not release, and I don't know if you're still thinking about it. But
Me?
I'm talking to you about a file that Q was working on and
Oh,
asked
yeah.
me
Oh,
about.
sorry. The way you said that sounded like the opposite.
Oh, yeah, no,
I
no,
thought
no,
that
no,
too.
no.
You said a file. I was like, the fuck? I'm not. I hope I'm not working on shit. Like, it was like,
Yeah,
okay, keep going.
I'm better with writing questions ahead of time.
go ahead.
No, where my understanding of it is it would just be basically a brief, but for general theory arguments. Like, what you want to explain
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I had a lot of things that throughout the years of Candor I started on that just took a back seat to the monthly files because those were time sensitive and this wasn't. So I
And
would
paid
just-
the bills. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm just going to finish this whenever I can because it'll be good forever. You know,
Right.
it's not specific to anything. And one of those things was like a public forum theory file. There's like a big file about theory arguments for Puff because Puff is getting more progressive. And theory is super cool, in my opinion. I love theory. I think everybody debates theory but doesn't know it,
Yeah.
you know? And it'd be cool to, like, give people that don't have private coaches that can explain theory to them and, like, aren't in progressive areas or don't frequently debate in progressive areas that eventually get to, like, you know, a TOC bid. It's their one chance and they hit a theory team and they're like, what is this? You know, I have nothing to this. I think it'd be cool to make something like that, and I have a big one going. I just don't think I can do it on my own. I've worked on it on and off for like a year and a half now. I think it'd be cool to release for free as like my last thing, you know.
Yeah,
That would be cool. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Because I tried to I definitely released that video. We have a video where it's just titled "Every Theory Argument Paul Could Think of," and I don't. The problem with stuff like that for me, because I'm not doing a brief, right? And
Yeah.
I'm also trying to make students do some work, and so I'm like, I'm going to tell you the interpretation for every theory argument I can think of, and you can try and think of what a reason to prefer, a standard, whatever you want to call them in your format, etc., would be for this or whatever. But when I was trying to look into that, like I couldn't find. Part of it's just it's really hard to find debate videos that are what you're looking for. Because if you look up theory of debate, you're not going to find the Proteus Academy. You're going to find whatever the fuck. Sometimes I type in Proteus X video or whatever, and it still doesn't come up. And so the odds of you finding one that's actually useful, very low. But with stuff like briefs, it seems like it's more findable, and it's also something that gets shared on the subreddit a bit more, I think, or in public forum discords, etc. And so, yeah, I think that'd be a really cool thing.
Yeah. So, I mean,
so the question is, do we have the
me
time and energy to help?
Yeah. Both.
Yeah. No.
I don't want you guys to think that this is just like an empty template. Like, there's a lot of shit in there.
Oh, sure.
Like, it is started.
Yeah. And that's not really even the concern. I think the pain in Paul's voice is we just finished a semester. It's been a long semester. So...
Hey,
I feel you. I just retired my entire company.
part of my concern it's not really a concern. It's that I guess it's a bit of a concern. My knowledge of theory debate is tied to public forum and Lincoln Douglas, right, and like progressive style, like where no one I coach is debating in front of parents. You know what I mean? Yeah. And anything I do, I definitely am in line with kind of what you're saying. Like, we're gonna do this fucking right or whatever. And so the problem becomes, doing it right in that sense means like we've got to have the like, hey, you're in front of a parent, you shouldn't read theory, I think, in general. But if you did have to read theory in front of a parent, what would that look like? Versus if you're doing it in front of a first year out, versus if you're doing it in front of a well-versed coach, but they don't like theory, all that kind of stuff, right? Like how you explain stuff becomes very different. And I could see that being very it's kind of time intensive, for lack of a better word, you know? And I mean, that's my only thought on something like that, right? Because theory is so vast. There's no literature to drive it necessarily. And so it's like, what is your reasoning?
That's the cool thing. That's what prompted this, because I found when I was researching some topic, I don't remember what it was, this really fucking cool card that was like a good card to read for voters on why you should vote on theory. And it's like, I haven't found it in any other theory files, and it's pretty good.
It's funny that you say, I have a card that I think is like the world's best tea card. Yeah. Like just for topicality. That I have people read every once in a while. I think I actually read it against I don't even know why you would be aware of this at all. Were you aware when the Nathaniel's game thing was happening on this subreddit or whatever?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Nathaniel Yoon, we call him our boy, even though we've never met the kid in our lives. We've just talked to him a few times. Love you, Nathaniel, dude. Thanks for being in the comments. You're always be a real one. Anyway, with that said, he was doing a thing at the Plastic TOC, I think, this year or whatever, when he was a senior. And he was reading this thing called Nathaniel's Game, and it was like a bunch of stuff about like, the rules are blah, 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 and like, you've conceded that you don't get to respond and you don't have time to talk. And I had told them, I was talking to the kids in the Discord, and I'm like, yeah, that shit wouldn't fly. Oh, that shit wouldn't fly if like you got to look at it or whatever. And they're like, yeah, well, you know. And I'm like, cool. Well, I'm gonna try and find it. I'm gonna find it somewhere on the internet where someone's shared it or whatever, and then kind of answers to it, and just did this exhaustive like, you know, NC against it or whatever. But one of the cards in there's this great leotard card where he just says, like, in the context of language games, the only defining characteristics is the rule. In any utterance which is not abiding by those rules, or any change, no matter how small, to the rules of the game, mean you are literally not playing that game anymore.
Yes.
The game has fundamentally changed and
Fuck
whatnot.
yeah.
And I loved reading that card when I was a debater. I found it. Well, I found it when I was in grad school because I had to read the postmodern condition. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think it's called. I told my students, I'm like, this shit is fire.
Let me check this out. So this is the voters card. Why voting against abuse matters. Evidence from the Stanford prison experiment shows that when no one in a power position, like the judge in a debate round, intervenes, the abuser becomes more abusive. Konnikova 15. Occasionally, disputes between prisoner and guards got out of hand, violating an explicit injunction. When the warden overlooked these incidents, the message to the guards was clear. All is well. Keep going as you are. The participants knew that an audience was watching, and so a lack of feedback could be read as tacit approval. So vote on theory. You know,
that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that. I'm a fan.
Here's my thinking.
Like I said,
here's my thinking on the whole thing. At the very, very least level of like work and involvement that you can expect from us, we will take a look through it and tell you if it's good, tell you if it's sick, tell you if there's any obvious thing you're missing, right? We can probably contribute some stuff, and what I think will resolve Paul's concern is, well, one, it's gonna kind of do this on its own if you're releasing it for free, because people are gonna look at it and have feedback, but find other people to just show it to you and just be like, hey, you're like a super... So neither of us are a very public forum-y person, but as long as somebody like that eventually takes a look at it, I don't think it's really our concern to have, you know?
For sure.
So yeah, I think that sounds sick. I think, you know, there's not really a timetable exactly I think either of us are working on, but that sounds like something cool to have coming down the pipe.
It's interesting because I don't know I don't know why that never even occurred to me that would be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, but that totally does make sense because you don't have to write it once.
Exactly.
And there's no uniqueness updates or whatever.
At some point, probably.
Yeah, but for sure.
Yeah, well, all right, man. Thanks so much for coming on. This was really cool.
Yeah,
man, dude.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting because I feel like, I mean, Sasan, when he talked to me about it, I was like, hey, you want to do with this guy? I'm like, dude, I don't know shit about Braves. That sounds cool. Like, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, there's a whole thing there. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, wait, so you guys weren't fans? Okay. I thought this was like
debate. No reason to read.
We're resellers, and so like we're fans in that sense. But
we're fans of the enormous amounts of money you made us. Yeah, that was
right. Yeah, exactly. At least somebody made some. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, and so we talked about at one point like who our like dream interviewees are, right? And Paul had a list of, you know, debaters that he knows who are super high level, and all of my list was shit like this, right? Like somebody who's involved in topic writing at the NSDA, like somebody who runs a fucking camp,
I would love that.
What is all this shit? Yeah, dude. I wanna grab these people by the collar. Like, what is your process?
Right, yeah. Dude, I love that. Because, like, I was like, of course, like, as soon as I stopped I've been doing this for years. As soon as I stop, somebody's interested in it, you know?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, but what I think is cool about it is the fact, I think a lot of the interest comes from the fact that you stopped, which is kind of a little fucked up to say. But I just feel like... for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think with something
you have to know if I ever need attention, all I have to do is die, you know? Like,
yeah, for real. Like,
but what I mean is, you know, like, obviously...
a life-changing decision, and then somebody will care.
Well, obviously, if you're watching this and you want to reach out to Q about coaching, do that, and if he's available for it, like, yeah, why not? Like, keep him involved with debate and line his pocket a little bit, and obviously you know what you're talking about and have really good...
He does cameo voiceovers as Kevin Smith, too. You know,
pretty good. Get a discount Q&A going. But I think it's also just really cool, especially since we're talking about, like, I don't know, such a thing people don't know about and are distrusting of, and there's, like, the money shit. To have somebody who just doesn't have a horse in the race anymore be like, here's how much I made, here's what I did.
And like, one thing that I totally forgot that I wanted to say was, I feel like, I mean, I felt this way whenever I was in high school and I was looking at briefs and like thinking about briefs. it definitely always felt like they were so other, like these aren't people. Like
Yeah.
I pictured this big room of people on computers and just like and somebody walking around with a whip, you know? But
Yeah.
like at least in my case, like I'm just a dude, you know? Like I bartended and would get off work and I'd work on it. Like I don't know, it's so weird. I I went through last 2 summers ago, I was getting paid to judge at an SDA for a school and like coach and stuff. And while I was at nationals, I was going through like the messiest, most emotional breakup of my life. And I was like, how ironic is this that I'm like the professional here and I'm like taking like angry phone calls in my hotel room and stuff. Like it's just I think a lot of people don't realize or like aren't able to wrap their head around like, yeah, I'm just a dude.
Well,
Like,
Dude,
on
this is
Reddit
going to be
when
the
I-
trend of this series 100%.
I'm just a dude.
It's just people.
You
Yeah.
dug your
People
own
really
grave with
feel
the
so
we
big.
shit, man. You put we at the bottom of those files, and everybody thought you were
I
like
know.
1,000 professionals
machine.
sitting at a
Yeah.
That's why I did it. Yeah, for real.
But it backfired. You know, I thought of the perfect question to end on.
Yeah.
Let's say I do get fired, which
Yeah.
could happen at any moment.
For sure.
And I'm like, dude, we gotta get this Proteus thing off the ground. It's gotta cook. And I generate that $13 a month we could be making into hiring you to be consultant. How would you change Proteus?
It sounds
What
like
should
you're
we
trying
be
to
doing
get
different?
me to do my job for free right now. 'Cause I
Yeah.
haven't gotten that $13 yet.
No,
But
this is the interview.
man, I don't know. I really do like what you guys do. That was part of the reason I was so into this idea of doing this with you guys, because I was like, these, you guys have done a very good job of, will you get down? Like humanizing yourselves.
Yeah.
Whereas I was just talking about with all these resource companies, like it always seems so different, but you guys have done a very good job of just seeming like dudes that you could talk to. And
Watched a video of a demo
you know.
debate from like some camp, and it's like one person's like the host, and they're like, "Hello and welcome to the VBI." I'm just saying that because I'm the only one I know the name of. Demo debate again. Here we have Sarah Smith, the TOC champion, and then they finish. They're like, "Cool." They'll do their speech, and then they finish it. Wow, what a great speech, Sarah.
Yeah.
Next, we will go to the rebuttal, and the rebuttal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody likes that. Nobody
Yeah.
likes that.
Like, hey
Ever in
gang,
the
we're gonna do a video today. Welcome, nation. Like,
Nobody has ever liked that in the history of people liking things. Okay?
Right.
Like people like people that are human.
we got to do
And you
that.
guys-
Sorry, we got to do that sick demo debate thing we've been talking about forever, Sasan, with the GoPros.
Oh,
I don't know if we've ever
Shit,
actually
with that,
done
okay,
that.
all right, dude. Okay, we have so many ideas for shit that we haven't had
I've
the
thought
time
about
energy.
that thing before, and like I've thought about doing a debate wearing a little mic so I could talk about what was going through my mind. As I
That's
did it.
exactly.
Yeah.
We want to do
You know?
it with 4 different levels of
To
debate.
get this right, pick a topic, and then I got this idea from a chess video where this grandmaster plays a complete novice, and just explains.
I also watch chess on Twitch.
Well, there you go. Right. Dude, and there's such similarities between just like any
There are.
strategic. Yeah, absolutely. I eat that shit up. All right. So, anyway, the idea is get a case or get a topic, right? A real topic that there's briefs out for, or just make up a topic, and get some complete beginner to agree to do the debate, and debate against them. And, obviously crush, but just be like, all right, well, here's what happened in the debate, why I responded the way they did, and then do it against like a novice, and then like an open competitor, and then just like a TOC champion, but running the same case every time. Their cases are different, obviously, but you are running the same thing every time, and then you get to see like, okay, arguments aside, right? Like, what
was different here?
Yeah, what's different between them, and you also get a sense of like what are the intangible ways that people improve at debate as they get better. And
this was a relatively recent update from Sasan, like years ago. I think this is pre-Proteus. We'd been talking about this because we knew we wanted to do a channel. His idea was like, what if we just get 4 GoPros and we just literally do all of prep and all of the debate round and everything.
You'd like see people's flows as they're flowing.
How much are they writing down? Like, how long does it take them to come up with the app? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but we're like, dude, we have to buy 4 GoPros, and at $13 a month, that's gonna be like 6 years.
GoPros are expensive, especially at that budget. Before I gave up on like our YouTube channel, which ended up just existing for me to post our podcast on, I really wanted to do like a reaction to my state finals round because it's online, like through Mish's website. I was gonna watch it and talk about it and like talk about why I said what I said and what I did here, that kind of thing. And I think that like there's not enough of that. There's a lot of here's how you should do this if you ever get in this situation. There's not enough of like, this is what's happening, watch it happen, here's why it happened the way it did. You know, there are both like teaching videos, dude, stop, teaching videos and live round videos, but there is not a combination very often.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, looking at chess and other things, like the most useful shit is that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Those resources.
Hey, I got a call pretty soon here, Sasan.
No, me too. This is it.
Dinner with my wife. But yeah, dude, this was dope. And let's try and figure out this theory brief thing. Yeah. And also, just for the record, that last thing you're saying, that's something me and Sasan have been talking about, trying to get people to do their own rounds. And so maybe we can make that happen at some point if you got the time, man.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, man.
But like I said, I gotta head out, gang.
Let's call it there. But hey, thanks so much, Q.
Yeah,
that's
really
thank you guys.
Thing,
I think he's got to pee like me.
Oh, all right, cool. Well, it's great talking to you, dude. Talk to you later.
Great talking to you.
Yeah.
Peace
out.
See you guys.